But we're continuing in this speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in 1991, and it is relevant to this Shabbat, which is Shabbat Chazon, the Shabbat right before Yom, the Tisha B'Av, the day of Tisha B'Av, which Tisha B'Av is the day when we commemorate the destruction of the first and the second temples. And here, when the Rebbe was speaking back in 1991, this year Tisha B'Av falls on Thursday. But the Rebbe was, when he was talking, Tisha B'Av had to fall on Shabbat, which if it falls on Shabbat, it means we do not fast on the 9th day of, we fast on the 10th day of. But the fast, nevertheless, is pushed off. So says the Rebbe, this is a little bit of a hint that it's possible to push off this fast. And what's really going to be. And he said it even more, this makes it even more similar to another fast day in Judaism, which is Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur, we also eat on the 9th day as a preparation for the 10th day. And it even says more that by eating on the 9th day, it is as though you fasted 2 days. And here the same thing, we have to eat on the 9th day, Tisha B'Av, if it falls on Shabbat. Don't do it this year, if it falls on Shabbat. And that's a preparation for the next day. And says the Rebbe even more, that this Shabbat has to be happier than all the other Shabbats. Because even though that it falls in the middle of the 9 days of mourning for this terrible tragedy, which is called the destruction of the temple, as nevertheless, and we should be sad because we should remember the destruction of the temple, but not so. On this Shabbos, we have to totally forget about the destruction of the temple, and we have to be very happy. How can we forget about the destruction of the temple? Because the fact of the matter is that's the truth. It's going to be that way. We'll see that when the third temple was built, that really it was just hidden. It was always there. It was really never destroyed. Okay. Then the Rebbe went on about the 3 weeks corresponding to transformed to be happiness, and that'll also give us the number three nations that God promised us to Abraham, that the land of Israel will be greater, and the third temple, number 3, will be brought by Moshiach, and that will be a final redemption and bring all the Jewish people to the land of Israel, as was spoken about in these 3 Torah portions that we read in these 3 weeks of Pinchas and Matos Masa and Devorim, talking about the land of Israel. I'll piece that according to this. 1 second, just make sure over here. Yeah. I'll piece that according to this. Tuvan will be understood. Also, Harot, Nitzchi is the eternal teaching for all the generations. Moses began his prayer, right? The 515 prayers Moses was made in order to get into the land of Israel. Moses began this prayer, and he said, this is going to be next week's Torah portion, right? At Hanan. You began to show your servant. What does it mean, you began? God, you took us out of Egypt. You showed us big miracles. Come on, do me a favor. It's no big deal for you, God. Just, let me in to the land of Israel. That's all. Just let me go in. Patach liot omer mitpal. Then he started to pray. In other words, even though or that there was decreed on Moses that he would not go into the land of Israel, Omar lo, he said, Moses said to God, I learned from you. That I have to insist to go against your decree. Where did I learn this from? From God. From me, where did I learn from God? When the Jewish people sinned with the golden calf, so God said, I'm going to destroy them. I'll make you a new nation. But he didn't exactly say that. God said to Moses, Hinichu li. Hinichu li. Stand aside. God said to Moses, stand aside and I will destroy all the Jews and I'll make a new nation from you. And Moses said, what'd you say? I should stand aside. In other words, what happens if I don't stand aside? What I was grabbing onto you, God? The reason that God said this stand aside was in order to open up a door of opportunity. The door of opportunity which is in me should be, it should be ayat talui, that it depends on me that I should pray for you. In other words, God is saying, leave me alone and I will destroy the Jews. In other words, God was hinting to Moses that if you don't leave me alone, I won't destroy the Jews. In other words, I made a decree to destroy them. You can change the decree. Moses said, that's what you said to me, God. You said it. You said you made a decree and that I can change it. Come okay, and the same thing. I thought, I'll do now. You made a decree which is nowhere near as just as what you did to the Jewish people. The Jewish people, they sinned with the golden calf, like we explained. That's unforgivable. And nevertheless, you said that I can pray and rescind the decree. Well, here, what you decreed on me, that I'm not going to go on Israel, that's only because I hit the rock. Come on, I didn't do any big sin like that. If you can forgive all the Jewish people, talk about millions of people, that they all sinned, I guess maybe only the males, 600,000, you can forgive all of them that did such a heinous sin, as for sure you can forgive just one person that did not such a big sin. Not only that, no one is going to demand a retrial if you forgive me, right? Not going to come in front of a judicial court, the whatever is the Congress will say, hey, you can't do that, God. You promised. No one's going to take you to court. No one's going to complain. Just let me go into the land of Israel. In Timcholi, just Shechin, therefore, of course, God did not let him in. Shechin, Heyos, because Shemedubar orders, because it's talking about coming into the land of Israel and bringing the total redemption for all the Jewish people. That's a pretty good thing. Even though that Moses knew about the decree, also Moshe, he did everything that he could. He'd palel, he prayed, and he prayed again, and he prayed again, until it ended up that he prayed 515 different prayers, different reasons. I think they were all different. And they should get into the land of Israel. O tefillah choderet et kol tetvav pamim, taf kaf, dargos, or it was a prayer that was so deep that it went into these 515 different levels of creation, bein rakia between each and every heaven and each and every heaven, etc., to the earth. And maybe Moses did all this because maybe it will bring about that God can change the decree and he'll let him go into the land of Israel. So what do we see from this? That we must try to change God's mind from bad things to good things. Even that's why we pray every day. We pray 19 prayers 3 times a day to ask God to change his mind about things. Right? There's people that are sick. Why they're sick? Because you made them sick. Right? There's people that are poor. Why are they poor? Because God, you made them poor. Why did you make them poor? Why did you make them sick? God has his reasons. Don't worry. God is creating everybody. Everything belongs to him. He can do what he wants to, but he has his reasons. So if God decrees something, that's it. Right? Wrong. One of the things that God decreed is that if we pray, it can change God's mind. That doesn't make any sense, but the whole creation doesn't make any sense. Even after Shomer Kodesh Baruch Hu Alto said Dvar Malchut, even after God said, stop, don't continue to talk. Hari Safek Gadol was a big doubt. In Gam Lazet, see it, Moshe. It's a doubt if Moses listened to that also, that he stopped at 515 prayers. Shechena Kalal is Kol Masha Omer Lecho Balabaya say Chutz Mitzeh. There's a general principle that says that everything that it's in Pesachim, that everything that the house owner, you're a guest by somebody's house. Everything your host tells you to do, you're supposed to do. Right? You're a guest. If you're the guest, says, I'd like you to wash the floor. Could you this? You have to do what he says. Except for one thing. If he says, get out of my house, you don't have to leave. He invited you in, you don't have to leave. You want to put me in the basement, put me in the basement. You can't kick a person out. That's what it says. So Moses should have said that to God. What do you want to say, God? That I can't come into the land of Israel? You're telling me that I'm barred from the land of Israel? I have to go out? Right? I'm not going to do it. Everything that the host, which is you, God, tells me to do, I'll do, except for leave. So Safek Gadol, it's a big doubt if Moses already listened to this, listened to God when God said, stop beseeching, stop asking. So even when God commanded Moses to go out, say, do not continue to pray anymore, don't ask me, Mr. Bear, it's logical to say that Moses, he was willing to sacrifice his life and he continued to ask more and more. But nevertheless, it's obvious that it did not harm Moses in any way, and it won't harm another Jew. And it didn't harm Joshua. Shakodesh Baruch Hu Kavar Kavai already said, Shu Yachnisit Bnei Israel, that it's Israel. Right? God could have said, okay, Moses, listen, you want to come to the land of Israel? I already picked somebody. I picked Joshua. Moses, come on, God, let me come in. So God will say, listen, maybe Joshua, Moses wants to come in. He's my man. Maybe it's not nice to tell him that I picked Joshua. Maybe I'll pick somebody else. Maybe. It says it didn't hurt Joshua. Yoshua wasn't affected negatively. Even if Moses had the ability to, yes, by means of his prayers, affect that he would go into the land of Israel. And then he could have done this. How much more so with the prayer of every tzaddik? I'm sorry, how Moses could do this, make it happen. And we can learn that from, right, how much more so Moses could do it, that if tzaddikim today can change God's will, for sure Moses could have done it. Hari Yosa Roy Yisrael, he was a true shepherd of the Jewish people, Moshe. The Rabbi Amitin, he was a true leader. Malamed Torah, and he taught, a true teacher. Einu Yotze Me'agalos, Bahashiru Sham Talmidav. A true teacher doesn't leave the exile unless he takes all of his pupils with him. Like it says, a Talmud, a pupil that's, if a teacher has pupils and he gets sent to exile, the teacher has to go there with him. That's what it says. It's Ella Shlema Zagula. But the whole idea of the redemption, total redemption of Moses, that together he has to be with all of his pupils. So that could be a reason why when Moses was praying to go into the land of Israel, he wasn't just praying that he alone should go. The Mela move on, it's understood Shetafilas Moshe, the Knesset, that Moses wanted to come to the land of Israel, Kolala Batocho had included that all of the Jewish people in his generation, even those that died in the desert, Dora Midbar, that they should all come back to life and they should go back in to the land of Israel, that's what's going to happen. And the raising of the dead, they'll all come. There is also a limud, a teaching, Ladoros, for the generations. The Nogea, and regarding to Espeshus, the Moshe, the representative of Moses in every generation. Every generation has to have a Moses. Ad la Moshe Shabbatarenu, until our generation also has a Moses. Who's the Moses of our generation, says the Rebbe? The previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, Kovet Gush Mori Nasi Darenu. Well, there is also to the Moses, which is in every single Jew. The Rebbe repeatedly said that he is just a continuation of the previous Rebbe. That's his whole thing. He used to say the Rebbe, the Shver, the previous Rebbe, he's the Rebbe. I'm just carrying out his work. Maybe I'm increasing it, could be, but it all comes from him. Shemeli Habed, without looking at the prayers and the requests which were up to now, Tzurichim Otpam, we have to one time and another time to pray and request from God. Ad Matai, how long? How long is it going to take? Ubarur Adavar, and it's clear Shatfila Babakasha, that this request that we made, the 515 prayers, that Mashiach should come and bring all the Jews together into the land of Israel, that's what Moses was praying for, that all the Jews should come. And there's no doubt that our prayers will be answered. And there will be answered, take up a miyad mamash immediately. Open shell, matnat chinam, a free gift. Et chanan is a free gift. Et chanan, in chanun, when we say, God, give me a grace, this is a free gift. Shalom ba'erech, which is incomparable to the service, ba geula mitis vashlema, by means of Moshiach Tzidkenu. He's the first redeemer, he's the last redeemer. But called Bnei Israel, all the Jewish people will come to the land of Israel, but geula mitis vashlema, and a complete and a total redemption, an eternal redemption. But we just have to omed muchan ubanoi lamaila, and the base of the third temple will come down from heaven. It's already built. It's already finished with every single little detail. It just has to be delivered. And this whole topic, mitchazek yoter, is even stronger kasher when nimseim, we are found in Bayit Meshulash. The Rebbe gave this speech in 770 Eastern Parkway, and he said, now this is a triple house. How is it a triple house? It's a Beit Knesset. It's a place where people pray. Beit HaMidrash is a place where people sit and learn. That's what the yeshiva is. And Beit Ma'asim Tovin, it's a place where people do good deeds. Ubimiyuchad, and especially, it's a bayit, the house, the place, is the place of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. He's the Moses of our generation. Shu me'ein achana, this building where we're in now, 770, is a preparation, is a preparation for the third temple. That the third temple will also be a triple house. It says, Beiti Beit Tefillah, it says, my house, the holy temple, is a place of prayer. It's a place of Torah. That's where the Sanhedrin was. And it's also a place of Gemilat Chasadim. It's drawn down especially by means of the sacrifices. In this third temple, this triple house that we're in now, we're sitting here now, says the Rebbe, all together, many minions of Jewish people, hundreds of Jews. Like it says, Barov Am Hadrat Melech, with the more people, the more glory there is for God. I share notes of Lakach that in addition to that each and every Jew is a Balabayat, is a master on everything. How much more so on his individual existence and his individual service of Adam Ki Yakrid. Every person has to come close to God. And the word Yakrid means to come close. It also means to make a sacrifice. You have to make the sacrifice from you. Michem Daika, from you specifically. Al Yadezeh, by means of this, Harihu, Makriv, Gam, as Enyani Olam, he also brings closer, not just himself, but also the whole world, mineral, plant, animal, human. It includes in it that's included in it, in the Holy Temple. I share that, Ahava v'achdus, bein b'nei Yisrael, that this love between Jews, mevatelet et sibos hakolos, this negates the reason for the exile. So therefore, mitbatelet hamasovev, therefore, the reason for the exile is that people hated each other, couldn't stand each other. And when we rid ourselves of that disease, that nemesis, of disliking people, and especially for no reason in view of the fact of who they are. A Jew is the son of God. How can you hate another Jew? You can hate what he does. You can hate what he says. So therefore, mitbatel hamasovev, therefore the result is also negated. The take of miyad, immediately there will be the redemption, namely by means of doing good deeds and helping one another. Ubafran, and especially shanosav v'kach, in addition to this, this is a special propitious time. It is Shabbat, Tisha B'Av. Back then it was Tisha B'Av and Shabbat. Like I said before, this Tisha B'Av will come not on Shabbat, it will come on Thursday. Shabbat, Tisha B'Av, that'll be next Thursday. Wednesday night. The prayer of Mincha Keshenasit Yitkabrut Chadasha of Mazel of the Mashiach. We said the Mashiach is born on Tisha B'Av, right? In addition to this fact that in this year, 1991, Tafshin Nun Aleph, these are the first letters of Tiyeh, Shanat, Niflot, Erenu. I will show you miracles. Our year, the year we're in now, is also not Niflot, but Plaot. Taf, Shin, Pei, Gimel. Tiyeh, Shanat, Plaot, Gedolot. Huh? Made that up. You can also, anyway, we've had enough initials and signs and everything. Let's have the Mashiach and stop all this pain and suffering. Ad until Sheniflot the Geula Amiti, till there is a true redemption, namely, like it says, that then there will really be a true, total revelation of the creator of the universe. Like we said yesterday also, that the Jewish nation is a miraculous one. One miracle is that we still exist. Despite everything that we have, and the fact that there's so little, apparently, holding us together. We don't live in the same country. There's a lot of non-religious Jews. We don't speak the same languages, and we look differently. A Jew from Yemen looks totally different from a Jew that's in Russia. There's no common features whatsoever. And nevertheless, they're still Jews, and even non-religious Jews, anti-religious Jews, they identify as Jews. They won't leave that Jewish identity. And even more, they say it's a thing you can't take away from me. It's a precious thing. Not only do they not throw it away, but they guard it. Right? People guard this Jewish identity. So it says that what this is, we don't know. It started when God took the Jews out of Egypt. That was big miracles. The Jewish people are based on miracles, on the miracle of going out of Egypt, and the miracle of traveling to the desert, receiving manna, the miracle of the Torah being given to them. Big miracles. That's the Jewish people. It's a nation that is based on miracles, and is a nation that has ignored all these miracles in a very orderly way. And nevertheless, God still keeps going. He still loves them. Miraculous. Well, says the Rebbe, it doesn't make any difference how many miracles you've seen up to now. Going out of Egypt, it's absolutely nothing compared to the big miracles that are going to happen with Moshiach. But you should know that this is the basis of Judaism. It's the first of the 10 Commandments. I am God that took you out of Egypt. That's the basis of Judaism. Miracles. We have to do something to deserve these miracles. We have to do something to appreciate the miracles. We have to do something to make a vessel for the miracles, to evoke the miracles, to start the miracles. But nevertheless, after everything, it still is depending on miracles. So from all this is understood, so now this is the Zaman Mamakom. Now we are in a place which is the place and the time which is the most fitting, proper for the coming of the Mashiach. Ubapasha is simply that a Jew has to believe, and with a complete belief, that the Mashiach, Melech, is going to be a king from the house of King David, and he's going to sit and learn Torah, and he's going to do the commandments like King David did, and he's going to spread out the Torah. And this person, you can suppose that he is the Mashiach. 100%, you can suppose it's the Mashiach. And if he succeeds in doing what he's doing, what he wants, namely to build a temple and draw the Jews to Israel, so then he's certainly the Mashiach. Says the Rebbe, not so. Even before he builds the holy temple, and even before he gathers the Jews together, a person, can we consider this person to be the certain Mashiach by means of this, that he builds the holy temple and he gathers the Jewish people together. I'm sorry, I jumped the gun a little bit. It's not so. We see now for sure that there is a person that certainly we can suppose to be Mashiach. And eventually, immediately, we will see a person that we can be certain he's the Mashiach. What does it mean, certain? He will achieve the goals that Mashiach is supposed to achieve, to build the temple, gather the Jews to the land of Israel. But Knes Ka'et. So here we are, says the Rebbe, we're here in 770 Eastern Parkway. We are now in a synagogue. And the Mashiach can come, and he will enter, and he will redeem us and take us to the Holy Land. Whom Molech et Kol Ben Israel, he'll lead all of the Jewish people by virtue of the fact that they are the Jewish people, to the Holy Land, to Jerusalem, to the Holy Mountain, and to the house, to the Holy Temple. Like we said before, immediately this can all happen, immediately, in this moment. Mamish, b'Shabbat Tisha B'Av Tavshin Nun Aleph, it can happen. If it could happen back then, for sure it can happen now. Kach, Aseri B'Mincha Av, also the 10th day of Av will be the 10th day, will be holy, will also become a holy day. When the Rebbe was speaking, that next Sunday would be a fast day. It says that God will transform it to be a happy day. Alachatz Kam, how much more so? The Echad, the 11th day of Av, that if the 9th day of Av transforms, and the Rebbe said back then when Shabbat fell, when it fell on Shabbat, it already became transformed. So the Rebbe, the 10th day will also be transformed. And it'll also be holy. Number 10 is holy, it says. And also we said, and if the 9th and the 10th become holy, how much more so the 11th? Echad Asar Yom Michorev. It says that was 11 days from Mount Sinai. Or Parshatenu, it talks about 11 days from the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai, Chorev. This is the revelation of Keter, crown. There's 10 Sfirot, and 11 is one above them. Kafiz, just as the Torah is, namely, the Torah is the 10 commandments, but the source of it is the number one. That's one God. We'll feel the godliness in the Torah. That's the 11th day of, which is above the 10 Sfirot. And together with this, it'll be drawn down into all the 10 Sfirot, into the world. We'll feel the oneness of God. That's the 11th. Asher Natan Lanu Torah, that God gave us the Torah, will feel that it is God's Torah. Chemda Ganuza, it says that it is a precious hidden treasure, the Torah. Ad Kafi Isha, right of a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and we'll see that the Torah and God are totally one. Uba, and it will come, and it'll be drawn down all of the details of what the Jew learns. Al Derech says, similarly, there's also this revelation in the 11th day of the month. How much more so the month of Menachem Av? That this month of Menachem Av, the 5th month of the year, is connected with the future redemption. The Ima Gili, the Torah Chadasha, with a new Torah that's going to come from me. This Torah, we received the Torah in the 4th month. And we received the Torah, in the 3rd month. And now the 5th month, the Rebbe talked about the 5th redemption. Remember, we learned about Shleimus Agila, the complete redemption of the 11th, number 11. This is the 11th of the Torah Chadasha, Mi'ite Teitze. That's going to be the new Torah, which is going to come down, where we're going to feel the one of godliness in the 10 commandments. That's the new Torah. We'll feel that every word, every letter of the Torah is holy, holy of holies, especially the commandments. The Allah has come, much more so, that there is the redemption in the days which come after this, namely on Yom Sheni, the 2nd day of the month. Okay, he explains all the days of the week. This is more relevant to calculations he's making now, is when Tisha B'Av fell on Shabbat. So he's explaining each one of the days of the month and the days of the week. Hagam, even though that I believe. Let's try it. Even though that I believe that Mashiach is supposed to come right now, and the Torah tells to a Jew that Allah Tamid, that all the time, every moment, he should do everything that he can, b'shleimut, in a complete way, the way things are now, including making the preparations and big preparations for the holiness that's going to be tomorrow. And if Mashiach comes right now, then what's the purpose of making all these preparations? It's coming right now. Says the Rebbe, nevertheless, we have to deal with the world the way it is. Two opposites. Karigil, like, and as is custom in our forbringans, we should make good resolutions and to add everything of Torah and the commandments and spreading out the Torah and the commandments and spreading out Hasidut. And we should precede and to add on that if, God forbid, Mashiach yitaker, before you say anything, say if Mashiach delays, then such and such, the wedding will be on such and such a day. If because we're supposed to wait. We're supposed to not just wait, we're supposed to expect. That Mashiach is supposed to come right now. There's no commandment to wait for the Mashiach. The commandment is to expect the Mashiach to come right now. Right? I'm not waiting for the bus to come. I'm expecting the bus to come any second. If there was a commandment to wait for Mashiach, so maybe it's good that Mashiach shouldn't come, God forbid, because it's a commandment to wait. Someone once told me that. The Chabad or not, because you say the Mashiach is supposed to come, and the Rambam says you're supposed to wait for Mashiach. If Mashiach comes, then we won't wait anymore. What can you talk to a person like that? But Mela, so therefore, Mavhirim, Sha'achlatot, that the good resolutions that are attached to serving God now, we should say, if Mashiach, Chas v'shalom, God forbid, if Mashiach delays, that's why I'm making all these preparations. Ube'emet, and really, even after the arrival of the Mashiach, there will be continued, we'll still do Torah, there'll still be commandments. And there'll also be all of the good resolutions that we made now in the time of exile. Like it's known, the explanation from the rabbi say, Ashrei Mishabol Lakan v'Talmido b'Yado, says, happy is one who comes to hear. We're talking about after a person dies. And is learning the Torah that he did is in his hands. What do you mean? That the preparations that we make for coming of Mashiach, they themselves are holy. We learned about that when we were talking about the lots, remember? Sha'achanav hakli, the preparation and the vessel for these revelations in the service of Gan Eden after a person dies, and similarly in the future redemption, this is by means of Talmud b'yado b'zman hazeh, what we do now. Cheruvim kashur b'zman makom golos, the things we do right now are eternal. Similarly, lochim at the Torah l'Gan Eden, just like after a person dies, he takes all of his good deeds with him, so to speak, to heaven. How much more so in the future redemption? Future redemption. Listen, after a person dies and he goes to heaven, so the reason he goes to heaven, all this is by virtue of the fact that he died. Death is not a good thing. But nevertheless, death doesn't take away the good deeds that he did. But here we're talking about the future redemption. There won't be any more death. So for sure, the good deeds and the good actions and the good things that you did are going to be eternal. Similarly, is also relevant to all of the service we do now. The whole purpose of this goal, this is what it says in the Tanya, chapter 37. The whole purpose of the coming of the Mashiach and the raising of the dead, it all depends on our service all the time now in exile. Until we can say that the future redemption is made specifically only by means of our service now, namely to bring the Aleph, the Aluf Shalom, God, into Gola, into the exile. In other words, 4/5 of the redemption, Geula, 4/5 of it is Gola, is exile. But again, what should we actually do? We have to make good resolutions in regard to these days that we're in now. What type of resolutions? First of all, we have to, in the end of this Haftorah, Tzion b'mishpat tepara v'shaveh b'tzedakah. Mishpat, this is talking about Torah. Tzedakah, this is talking about the commandments, and especially the commandment of giving tzedakah, charity, that everyone should make as a resolution to add on increase in these days in learning Torah and doing the commandments, and especially the commandment of charity, beginning on this Shabbat. And how much more so Motzi Shabbat and Yom Rishon. Every day should be more of an increase. That's what's called Mishpat, namely the Torah itself. He should, in connection to what we said before, that now is the place, and again, we should say that if, God forbid, Mashiach delays, as we should continue and with more enthusiasm and with more, he says, resolution, a new resolution, and every day brand new, that we should make siyumim. Try to finish every day, appoint someone. Every day should be a conclusion of one of the tractates of the Talmud, especially in these 9 days, including Shabbat, this coming Shabbat, and that's in Motzi Shabbat, Tisha B'Av. Every single day there should be a finishing of one of the tractates of the Talmud, because that these days, all these days until the 15th day of Av, they are a continuation of Tisha B'Av. So therefore, if Mashiach, God forbid, delays in these coming days, so I suggest that you should continue making these finishings, the siyumim of the tractates of the Talmud, on until the 15th day of Av. And to connect this also with giving charity. And also connect this with another finishing, namely finishing of the exile, and says you should make a little meal, a little sort of a happy Suda with all the people together when we finish, every day when you finish a tractate. Yesh lefarsam, we should advertise this in every place that's possible, whether in places that they've already done this, that they should continue it, and in addition, power. And how much more so places where they have not begun to finish a tractate every evening in these 15 days, they should now start to do it and also inspire others to try every day to find someone, or you can do a couple people together and make conclusions, finish tractates of the Talmud. So learn finishing. Again, on these days, we should increase Torah learning. We should make resolutions to learn a little more Torah, be a little more, they say, happy and enthusiastic in the commandments that we do, that they should be a little bit more, spend a little bit money, give more charity. And the Rebbe said another thing, that we should finish tractates of the Talmud every night of these first 15 days of the month of Av. And we'll continue this, God willing, tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday. We'll continue this. And I think we'll also do a sikha of the Rebbe because it's very short. Now here we have the Yom Yom. 1 minute.